Hey guys, name's Posey. I've been an indie game developer for over 20 years now. I'm a freelance inventor with Hasbro. I've done board games, card games, tabletops, video games. I run my own studio, and I've got two new indie games coming out on Steam. One that just came out in August, and then another one that's on Steam, and we're going to start our closed alpha this weekend, so you guys get to see that. So typically when I do these events like this, I like to do a lot of questions. If you want to be an indie game developer, I've literally lived, seen it all, and I'm just here to impart some wisdom. So if there's any questions you guys have that are just burning, I'm here to fill them. I guess I can kick it off. One of the most important things I have learned on the indie journey is find someone on your team that's going to be able to handle business. Because in the end, making a game, it is a beautiful art form. But if you want to put food on the table, you really need to find those team members that are able to help navigate those financial waters, the marketing strategies. And you'll never find investment unless you have the official documents and the way that those business people think. So I definitely found in my journey that partnering or learning business is a very large part of being an indie game developer. Some other waters I've navigated, you can make the game and you can create it, but also start thinking about if you want to self-publish or if you want to be able to find a publisher. There's lots of companies I've found out that are middle management that will connect you and basically like a job recruiter, but for publishers. So if you can find those, that will save you a lot of time as opposed to just directly finding publishers and sending it in and hoping that the right publisher is looking at your game to pass it on up the chain. There's tons of those resources out there. Yeah, typically do these with like in-person stuff, so the hybrid is a bit difficult for the question and answering. I didn't quite think that through.
Why don't you tell us about the games you're working on now and the process that's been involved with them?
So I've got one game which has been a passion project with a couple buddies of mine. We just plug in some weekend time. It's an arcade puzzle shooter, kind of like my homage to the games I grew up playing with my dad: Tempest, Galaga, Gradius, Bubble Bobble, all of those real fun little puzzle games and arcade shooters. And then so just a couple of my buddies, we thought it'd be fun to, write our own engine and just, create the game the way we wanted to create it. And then I've got a new project coming up that is a cozy sci-fi adventure RPG. My fiance, Michelle, it's her favorite genre. So Rune Factory, Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons, all of those real fun life games. So I decided I wanted to make this next game a co-op one version of that, so mainly I can put in my fiance. So one of the core things in indie game development that really drives a project is, there's a piece of soul of heart that's in those titles that the indie games make. So that's another good thing to think of, is don't just make a game because you want to make a game. Usually I find it's a lot easier to get over the difficult parts in production when there's a little bit of you in it, some main drive to help you overcome the hardships, because there's a lot. There's times when I honestly can't stand programming, but in order to get over those humps, I'll go to YouTube University and you'll figure it out. So another big thing about being an indie game developer is you can't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. As much as I want to stick back in the design and writing, I'll hop into the art realms. Some of my art's not good enough for production, but it's good enough to get the artist kicked off and save them a lot of time for concepts. So pretty much learn all the hats.
All right. Kenji Shiguma in YouTube asks, can you talk about a Steam release roadmap and checklist? Since you do have these two up on Steam now.
Yes. So the best thing to do for Steam, and this kind of goes a little outside of developing the game and more in the realms of the business and marketing aspect of your game, is immediately when you have your idea, start plugging away. Go to Steamworks, get your Steamworks partnership. I don't know how they do it now. I got mine years and years ago. But submit your game. You don't have to have a build at all when you get your Steam page. So the first thing to do is get your store page set up, send it in, because they will send it back. It's like trying to get a game on Apple. There's always going to be another person reviewing it who may have a harder checklist than the other person, so you will have a lot of kickbacks and forth to get your Steam page up, because it's not the best process to get on Steam just for that. And then as soon as you get your build going, learn the Steam pipe, learn the intricacies of their dashboard. It is exceptionally complex. So that would be the roadmap for that, is just when you have your idea, start working on your business storefront of it, and then as you work on the game, you'll be able to at least have your Steam page, at least start getting people driving to it, at least start getting wish listings going, and that way you have an audience once you start releasing your alpha keys.
All right. Yeah, good stuff. Question from Puzzles by Joe. How do you fund yourself while you're making the games?
I cut the belt. I guess is the best way to put it. As a freelancer, contractor, I pick up any gig I can to put food on the table. I don't sleep a lot while I do this, so it's just the classic entrepreneurial route. As an indie game developer, it's just what we call an entrepreneur. You find a way to fund yourself. I use free software, YouTube University. That's probably the best way, is just anything I can do that's not going to cost any liquid capital to produce is your best friend when you're indie.
How do you get playtesting happening? You can't afford a big QA staff. How do you get your games effectively tested?
Ask questions, ask people. Everyone, like even these small YouTube channels, they can have like 100 subscribers, 50 subscribers, 30 subscribers. If you have a game ready with footage, a lot of these guys, you just go to the contact and then you do the I'm not a robot, and they'll have their email, and they respond a lot. So that is the most effective way, is just outreach. Go talk to people, go find people. Probably one of the greatest resources is the GTA. Being connected with whatever city you're in, find what game dev group is. Go network, because game developers, other professionals are going to give you their honest opinion, which is the best thing. Because you don't want your friends to QA test it, because they're never going to hurt your feelings. They're going to tell you it looks awesome. That's not what you want. You want people to punch a bunch of holes into it so that you can patch it up. So just outreach, asking people. That's typically how I find them.
We'll do this plug for the GGDA. Remember that we offer playtesting service for our members, and in fact, Posey's games will be getting playtested tomorrow at Siege. And in addition, Hi-Res Studios will be out at Siege tomorrow with a great playtest opportunity for all GGDA members and everyone in attendance. So make sure you're there for the Sylvie Awards, and they'll be talking about that next opportunity. All right, Posey, you work with other indie devs, and you're not in the office with them all day. How do you coordinate? How do you work effectively together?
I'm the driving force. I send text. We use Discord as our team communication hubs, and just like any other project, it's typically in the indie game studios. Everyone's kind of be the producer. You'll be like, all right, cool. If you focus on this art, I'll focus on making sure that this thing gets put over to here, to put over to here, to put over here. So I typically use Discord, text, communications, phones. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess the best way to put it is everyone has their own methodology for parsing information. So whatever way you handle your information, and when you have a team, make sure that someone on the team is the one that's going to be trying to get everybody together. Otherwise, it's herding cats.
And our next presentation is going to be specifically on the teamwork side. So everyone make sure you stay tuned in for that. Can be one of the hardest parts. So, Posey, tell us about some of your average days as a game developer. What are you doing from start to finish?
I wake up, probably skip food till about 3 or 4 by the time I realize. Fire the computer, take the dog out, and just work. I try to hit as many low-hanging fruits as possible. There'll be days when I'm just plugging at the website. There'll be days I'm just doing email outreach to YouTube streamers and Twitch streamers. And then going back to the QA question, you can ask these guys to play test your game without having them stream it, and they're more likely to test your game and send you a nice long email of like real feedback if you don't ask them to stream it, because they're all gamers. They just want to play cool stuff. Typically, they'll save their streams for monetary. But back to what I was saying is my day is I wake up, I work on the project, I hit one tiny goal at a time, and then that's it. I go to bed. My wife gets home around 7:30. I try to get like a little bit of hang time with her. She passes out, and I'm back at it.
All right, so talk about the specific skill sets you need. Maybe exactly what tools you're using. Like, if you're working on the website, are you in WordPress? Are you doing actual Java? If you're working on the game, what are you working in? What are all the tools you use from Google Docs on down?
All right. The biggest tool is going to be Discord, especially if you're working with a team. You're going to need some place that has excellent team communication, chat platforming. Discord's pretty much free, and from what I can tell, there's no limit on your uploads that you can have. So I strongly suggest Discord. Let's see. I use a lot of notebooks. And that's just typically I'm in the. So my role for this is game designer, and then I wear the producer hat, and I just make sure that it's all together, and then I'll jump into art and whatnot. So as a game designer, your best friend is going to be whatever way you design. I use Whiteboard for Microsoft, Clip Studio for illustration notes, and then of course the Google Docs for typing up and stuff. For artists, I strongly suggest the Clip Studio for software on a budget. They've got real cheap monthly plans. I think I got 6 months for free, and then after the 6 months, it goes like $2 or $3. And I believe before they get rid of it in a couple months, you can just buy it outright for like 30 or $40. It's phenomenal for 2D illustration. The big software that I do suggest for anyone, no matter your role in game dev, is going to be Adobe Creative Suite or Creative Cloud. That's what they call it now. And that's just because you can spend, especially students, to get $30 a month, and professionals about $60 a month, and that will cover your pretty much everything from art, audio, video cutting up, because you're going to need to make your game trailers, your teasers, and then depending on what you're programming in, Unity or Unreal, you can typically find and use the student hobby editions just to get your game working. But definitely read the EULAs, because there will be ways that they will get their money back if you do get successful. So definitely, when you're looking for your engines, read all the terms of service agreements and license agreements to make sure it fits your business model. You're going to need a file management system. Google Drive or Dropbox is a must. Let's see, for code, you can use whatever your GitHub repository. Unity just bought Plastic, so they're integrating that into it. And I think Unreal has their own, I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, there's a mountain of suites. So depending on your role in the team and then what type of game you're building, and who team members you have, it could go from very skinny to just countless applications. But your most important ones are going to be your file management, no matter what, and then how you're going to get your team together.
All right, good question from Ryan Klein coming up as our next presenter. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by all the different types of work you have to do? If so, how do you mitigate that?
If you're not feeling overwhelmed, you're not doing it right. That's the best way to put it. I mitigate that by just focusing on the end goal. Because if you can keep seeing your game at the end of the finish line, you can get through it I use a lot of athletic practices. I was growing up as an athlete, did a lot of semi-pro athletic sports, mountain biking, bouldering, soccer. So I believe a lot of those training methodologies really do come in handy when you're dealing with all sorts of overwhelming, just there's a million things that get done, especially when it comes to a game, and especially if you're indie and you're just shouldering all the weight. And then once you always have the image in your mind and you can always keep moving forward to it. The other thing I really do is I do make time for friends and family. I do make time to remember why I make games. So definitely like take a break. That there'll always be a mountain of tasks. So it's okay to take a couple times for yourself to recoup, because just like when you're working out your body, you got to give it rest time too. So that is one of the most important things too, is just taking time to smell the roses, and get and stay on track. I guess I answered that right.
All right. So your games are up on Steam right now. How do you go about getting more attention to them there?
That's the basically the indies, the riddle. We spend all this time making the game and making the product and making it look great. And then that's the riddle I haven't solved yet, is how to balance also the awareness and getting people to see it. We're working on ways, like I was talking about with outreach, is spending the time going through looking for streamers, and not just streamers that just stream games. Make sure that whatever streamer you reach out to, go look at their catalog. That is the most important thing to do, is look at their catalog, look at what games they review, see how they review the games, how they stream it. Some are more funny and poke fun at it. If you have tough skin, definitely go after those guys. But definitely find the ones that like that genre of game you have. And back before is find their contact, reach out, write an email, be honest. I find that if you are just flat out honest and just treat them as a normal human being, you get more responses out of them. There's tons of competitions, like the Sylvie Award for Siege. There's international competitions like the Game Developer World Conference. Those are great ways to get awareness out, and play testing and visibility. Same thing with news articles like Kotaku and pretty much anything under the Polygon branch. There's when you go to news sites, just look for their masthead, and that's what they call it. So when you find their masthead, you'll have all the writers' information. Go read their articles. Again, going back to, if you're going to find someone to talk about your game, make sure they like your product. That's what they do. You don't want to go find someone that loves first-person shooters and have them try to play a retro platformer, and they're not even going to bother with it. But if you find someone that loves retro platformers and you send them a retro platformer, you have a higher chance of getting reviews and getting awareness. And so that's probably the best way for an indie. Network outreach. Look.
Have you tried to enter any of the festivals yet? Steam Next or anything else?
Yes, we got invited to Steam Next Fest for the Seneca 7 project. So we will be in the Next Fest coming up in February.
Exciting. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to wish list if you haven't already. All right. So you've gone to some live events with these as well. How do you maximize the benefit of taking these games to an in-person event?
So for example, Southern Fried Gaming, I forget the one in South Carolina, Southeast Game Exchange, and a lot of the other gaming expos, like especially in the Southeast. Look for them, and then always find the contact, because they're always looking for content. So they'll always be looking for indies, booth submissions, etc. Always apply. MomoCon every year they do an indie game award. Go apply for it, and like even if it's $50, it's $50. It can get you in, and if you make it, you get a booth. You get it. Another great organization to get in touch with is the Indie Cluster. They started as a roving indie group and then moved into playtesting as well. So if you're also looking for playtesting, back to the question before, Indie Cluster is also a great resource as well. So finding those, and then do research again back into the convention. Like, go look at past photos, see what it looks like. If it's going to be a warehouse hall with like the fold up plastic tables, or if it's going to be one of those actual booths with real content stuff. So know the strategy of the event space. You get the event, you got a booth. They'll send you content that shows you the floor map where it is. Use strategy the same way you play in a game, like you're just studying for the level, looking at the walkthrough, figuring out the content. And now for your booth and how to maximize that. I find that if your game has like a scoreboard or some simple level of whatnot, you can do little contests while they're there playing. Bring them in. I strongly suggest not doing audio. It honestly will deter more than it will bring in, just with all the noise. Find a way to get through Apparel on Demand your team shirts. That's also a great way because they'll always know someone to talk to when they come to the booth because you're in uniform. There's also cheap ways to where if you can, you're good with art and design. You can use InDesign to create little handouts to go to your local coffee shop. $1.50 a page. You can get like 30 or 40 of them for like $10-15. Cut them up. Have some way to get on it. A QR code your Discord, or if you got a Steam store page with wish list. Any ways that you can give people information from your booth to come back, or they can remember. Strongly suggest that, and you can do a lot of that under $50. So that's probably some of the ways I've maximized the most when it comes to like a booth. And if it is a big trade show booth, definitely find the money to kind of dress it up, because that is where you're going to try to get most of that traction. Like MomoCon, for example, like 50,000 people. You'll have to impress. So.
All right. So what are your next steps, your next plans? What's up next for the Indie Dev?
Well, we're doing something fun with the Seneca project. I'm used to the hide your game behind this big iron and pencil fortress, and then like build it and then show people. For this project, since we kicked it off in February, I'm trying something like I'm calling fishbowl development. So starting this weekend, our alpha build just has very little functionality, but we're dressing it up and kind of making a nice experience where we're going to build the game as the community plays and gives input. So we're going to have our full alpha development stage on Steam, players coming in, earning rewards of the alpha, creating like this nice experience while we're building the game. So we'll be creating and trickling in all the elements of the game in like a nice episodic, fun little chapter. So that for me is I'm experimenting with a new fun way to do game development while also trying to answer that riddle of how do you build a game and build an audience. So that's what's up for me, is more experimentation.
Yeah, excellent. I've become a big fan of playtesting via the live stream, deving during the live stream. Certainly with our latest version, Emperor the Fading Suns, we started showing it off well before it was ready to be showed off, and it was a better game for it.
Yeah, and Discord, I'm doing something fun with this too, is we're creating community Discord that's a separate server from our development Discord, just because I have built the development Discord and community at the same time. It gets very noisy, and it's very distracting. But during our community, we're also, every Friday, our development team hangs out in our community Discord where everybody can come in, and we're just working. And we'll have our screen shared, and you can be seeing us make 3D art, working in Unity, working in our engine. Sometimes we watch Dragon Ball Z while we're working, so that's also fun. But we're trying this also where we also are trying to engage with like an open door policy one day a week to kind of show the background of what making a game is, because it is a lot of hard work, but honestly it's a lot of fun because a lot of the people we work with in game development, we love what we do. We love playing games. We love making them. And honestly, I've become some of the best friends with just people I've worked with on games that I met at game jams. We've been working together for over a decade now. So that's a fun way to do it.
All right, Posey, you're going to have to share your Discord link in the YouTube and Twitch channels.
Uh-huh.
So I shared the Steam links for your stuff, but I don't have that.
Yeah, I'll poke it to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and transition to our next presentation, Bringing the Spice about teamwork in game dev. Again, thank you very much, Posey. Say bye, Posey.